It was a typical Saturday evening, one of those nights where everything should have been perfect. Smiling faces, wine glasses clinking, laughter echoing through the house. We were hosting dinner for my wife's entire family, and I had taken on the responsibility of cooking. It wasn't unusual. I loved cooking, and I liked to keep up the illusion that everything in our life was smooth. Dear listeners, please subscribe my channel to hit 1,000 numbers. But sometimes, the truth has a way of sneaking in when you least expect it. I was in the garage, grabbing more chairs for the dinner table, when I overheard a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. My brother-in-law, Jason, and my wife Clara were talking. At first, I didn't think much of it. It was just another family conversation, or so I thought. But then I heard Jason's voice. "I still can't believe you're married to that loser. Dad's right. You need to divorce him before you have kids and end up stuck forever." Clara's response froze me in my tracks. "Already working on it," she said. "My lawyer says you can take half his business, too." A cold chill washed over me, but I kept my composure. I didn't say a word as I grabbed the chairs and went back to the dinner table, my heart racing. My hands shook as I set them down, but I quickly masked it with a smile, trying to play the part of the perfect husband. They had no idea I had heard everything. I spent the next few hours hosting, laughing, serving food, all while the words echoed in my head. My wife, my Clara, was planning to leave me. And not only that, but she was plotting how to take everything from me. The dinner table was filled with laughter, fake, hollow, unaware. Clara sat beside me, leaning in with that same affectionate smile she had always used. But now it felt like a weapon, a mask hiding something ruthless underneath. Her brother clinked his glass to mine. "You've really outdone yourself, man. Best roast I've had in a while," he said with a smirk that didn't feel innocent anymore. I forced a grin, glad you're enjoying it. Inside, I wasn't smiling. Inside, something in me had cracked. But it wasn't panic or pain. It was focus. Cold, clear, laser-sharp focus. I didn't sleep that night. After everyone left and Clara curled up beside me in bed like nothing happened, I stared at the ceiling until sunrise. My mind replayed their conversation on a loop. Half my business. Divorce me before having kids? I didn't even know she was seeing a lawyer. The next morning, I began looking for answers. I didn't confront her. No, not yet. Instead, I started checking her phone records, email logins, anything I could access without raising suspicion. It wasn't long before I found something. A group chat, labeled The Inner Circle. It was a private group with her parents, her brother, and one name I didn't recognize. Ryan. Curious, I borrowed her phone while she showered and took pictures of every message thread. It was all there. Photos, inside jokes, plans, discussions about when to serve the papers, laughing about how clueless I was, and the worst part, my wife bragging about how easily she was manipulating me. "He's too trusting," she wrote. "I'll be free soon, and rich." I put the phone back, heart thudding, but hands steady. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done playing the fool. And now, the game would begin. For the next few days, I wore the same smile I'd worn during dinner, calm, collected, clueless. But behind that expression, every minute of my time was spent preparing. I met with my lawyer the very next morning. I'd built my business from scratch. Clara had never been part of it, legally or otherwise, but if she thought she could take half of it, she clearly hadn't seen the ironclad clauses I had put in place years ago, just in case things ever went sideways. Still, it was time to go deeper. We started moving assets, quietly, carefully. I shifted business ownership into a trust. Bank accounts were split and restructured. By the time Clara would file for divorce, there'd be nothing she could touch, not legally, not emotionally. But I didn't stop there. I reached out to an old friend of mine, an IT specialist. We downloaded the entire Inner Circle chat from Clara's phone remotely. We collected call logs, financial trails to her lawyer, and yes, pictures with her boyfriend, Ryan, including some very compromising ones. Enough to destroy a custody case if it came to that, and enough to convince any judge that she was acting in bad faith. But perhaps the hardest part? Pretending to love her kisses, pretending to listen to her talk about future vacations, pretending to be the husband she thought was too dumb to notice anything. She had no clue the storm was already building, and she was walking straight into it. And then it happened. 3 days after the dinner party, I received 40-plus WhatsApp messages from Clara, her brother, and even her father. All of them panicked. But I hadn't said a word yet, not even one. And that silence, it terrified them. 3 days of silence. That's all it took. No confrontation, no accusation. I simply stopped reacting. No good morning kiss, no usual banter over breakfast, no small talk during dinner. I didn't argue, I didn't question, I just observed. And Clara noticed. On the surface, she acted normal, chuckled at shows we watched together, tried to initiate conversations, even offered to plan a weekend getaway. But under her words was something I hadn't seen before. Nervous energy. She was starting to feel it. That creeping unease when a liar realizes the person they're lying to might know more than they're letting on. Then came the flood. 42 messages in one morning. Her brother, "Hey man, everything okay? You seem distant." Her father, "Let's keep things civil, all right? There's no need to make this ugly." Clara, "Babe, we need to talk. You've been acting weird. Did something happen? Then, please respond. I'm getting worried." And finally, "I think I made a mistake. Can we start over?" She was spiraling, and she didn't even know what I knew yet. That evening, she came home early. She had groceries in her hand, and that fake sweetness in her voice. "Thought I'd make your favorite tonight," she said with a forced smile. "Maybe we could talk?" I looked up from my laptop and simply nodded. "Sure," I said. "Let's talk soon." I think that scared her more than if I'd yelled, because the silence wasn't passive, it was calculated. Later that night, she tried to get close to me in bed, resting her head on my chest like nothing had happened. I let her. I played the role one last time, because I needed her comfortable. I needed her to keep pretending. I needed her thinking I was still the fool. But the truth, tomorrow was the day everything changed. The next morning, Clara left early. She kissed me on the cheek like she always did and said, "I'll be back before lunch." I nodded and said, "Take your time." As soon as the door closed, I stood up and made a call. The locksmith arrived within the hour. By noon, every lock in the house was changed. Garage, back door, front, even the basement and attic access. I wasn't just locking her out of the house, I was locking her out of my life, out of the life she planned to ruin for profit. Then I sat down and prepared the final email. It contained attachments, screenshots of the group chat, records of the call logs, photos of her and Ryan, and a detailed timeline of every betrayal, every lie, every manipulation. I CC'd her, her lawyer, and mine. As the email sent, I stared at the screen for a moment, exhaled deeply, and finally smiled. Not the fake one I'd worn for days, a real one. The moment of peace didn't last long. The doorbell rang. It was Clara, holding a bottle of wine and wearing a nervous grin. She didn't even notice the new locks until she tried to step in. "What the hell?" she asked, jiggling the knob. "Did you lock me out?" I opened the door just slightly, just enough so she could see my face. I stayed calm, almost too calm. "You don't live here anymore," I said plainly. Her smile vanished. "What are you talking about? Open the damn door." I handed her a manila envelope. Inside was the printed version of the email. "Take a look," I said. "You'll understand everything." She started flipping through the pages, her face draining of color as she scanned the messages. Her mouth opened to say something, but nothing came out. "And just so you know," I added, "I've already filed for divorce. With all of this, you're walking away with nothing." "You can't do this," she snapped, voice shaking. "Oh, I already did." And then I shut the door. Behind me, the house was quiet, peaceful, like a storm had finally passed. The days that followed were eerily calm on my end. Clara, though? Not so much. I heard she tried moving in with her parents, but that didn't last long. After I shared excerpts from the group chat with her father, the same man who called me a loser behind my back, he told her she had disgraced their name. Her brother? Silent. Ryan? Gone. Turned out he wasn't quite as invested in Forever as Clara was. Once she lost the house, the status, and the money, he ghosted her. She didn't just lose me, she lost the illusion of the life she thought she was upgrading to. But what about me? I took my time healing. I traveled for a bit, places I'd always wanted to go but never did because I was too busy building a life for both of us. I reconnected with old friends, built new routines, and most of all, I stopped pretending. People always talk about revenge like it's some big dramatic act. But here's the truth. Revenge isn't shouting. It's silence. It's not chaos. It's control. It's not a fire. It's ice. And watching her world unravel piece by piece while I stood quietly, untouched, and free. That was more satisfying than any confrontation could have ever been. 3 weeks after the locks were changed, Clara sent me one final message. I didn't know what I had until I lost it. "Please, can we talk?" I never responded. Some doors, once closed, should never be reopened.